Okay, greetings. Today we're going to talk about a very sort of a shameful, unpleasant subject, and that is the sin of the golden calf. It's in this week's portion. If we learn Chassidut in the morning, we'll learn that as tragic and as terrible and as catastrophic as it was, and totally the opposite of everything that Judaism stands for. But nevertheless, somehow or other, this was really for the good. How it could possibly be for the good? Because the Jewish people did tshuva. And they got the second tablets because of this. And this signifies, this is representative of the future redemption, which should be coming any second now. I mean, if it doesn't come right now, it's already, 2,000 years late. So it has to come. So this, at least now we're going to learn about the downside of this terrible historical occurrence. So let's go. Ready? Vayiten el Moshe. Okay, so Moses is now up in Mount Sinai, 40 days, 40 nights, doesn't eat anything, doesn't drink anything, doesn't sleep. 40 days and 40 nights. The Jewish people couldn't even take a couple of seconds of this. When God spoke at Mount Sinai, they heard the first two commandments, and the Jews just said, Moses, we can't take it. It's just too much. You speak to God, and we'll get it. So Moses went up there, not just for a couple seconds or a couple minutes or a few hours, or even a few days. He went up there for weeks. He went up there for 40 days with God. And now he comes back down. After this tremendous work that he's done all this time, tremendous self-sacrifice, receiving directly from the creator of the universe, the creator of the spiritual world. It says that if one angel appears to a person, he'll die of fear. And here to Moses is appearing God who creates all the angels. Even one angel would just, blow everybody's fuses out. And here Moses is talking to the God who's the source of all the angels, talking to him for 40 days. Okay, so God gives Moses, when he finishes speaking to him on Mount Sinai, he gives him the tablets. Two tablets, the two tablets of the testimony, Luchos Evan, they're made of stone, which are written with the hand of God. Let's just do a few of these things first, and then we'll go back and learn the commentary. But the people saw that Moshe delayed from coming down the mountain. So it says that Moses told the people it was going to be 40 days, but the people didn't understand that he meant 40 complete days. And Moses really intended that even a portion of the first day would be a full day. So when Moses came down, they thought that like one day was missing, or half a day was missing. We'll see. And so they said, pretty logically, actually, it made sense, sort of what they did. They really got, nervous, tremendously nervous. And, something like what everybody's now with the corona. Everybody nervous. That's it. We're alone. Nobody's going to help us. We're abandoned. Moses is gone, which is pretty logical to say. I mean, the outcome was not logical. But I mean, they couldn't even take the revelation on Mount Sinai for even a couple seconds. Their souls jumped out of their bodies. And then Moses went up there for 40 days. And not only that, he didn't eat anything. 40 days they didn't see him take like a sandwich or something. 40 days, 40 nights, didn't eat anything. So they saw it. That's it. Moshe's dead. So the people went to Aaron and they said to him, let's make some sort of gods that can go in front of us and lead us, because this Moshe that we saw that took us out of Egypt, we don't know what's going to be. So how did they call Moshe, by the way? They called Moshe Ha'ish, because this man, Moses, that took us out of Egypt, we don't know what happened to him. In other words, Moses is just a man like everybody else. Come on, you can't live 40 days without eating anything and being, in the the middle of the sun. You can't last. The God creates the sun. Nobody can last this. Too much sunlight. And here the angel says the angel is infinitely more powerful than the sun, and God creates all the angels. So it makes sense what they did. So they said, listen, we're all alone here on our own. We're coming to you. We're not doing it on our own. Make us a God that will lead us. Now it said that there were three groups. They don't have the Malbim over here, but they said there were basically three groups. One group, they just wanted a leader. One group, they wanted a replacement for, right? They wanted a replacement for Moses. Another group, that was the best one. The next one, the worst one, they just wanted another God. It says, let's worship other gods. And then there was a group in the middle, and they were sort of uncertain. They didn't know, they wanted some sort of a superpower to lead them, but they didn't stop believing in God. So we'll see that there are basically three different punishments that are going to be meted out to the Jewish people for this term and the sin. But you should know that all of the Jewish people were, in one way or another, whether actively or passively, they participated in the making of the golden calf. Everybody. They all participated in the golden calf. Some of them did it actually, and some of them, they just stood back and they said, listen, we're not going to participate, but we're also not going to stop them because maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. Maybe Moshe really is gone. He's really dead. And everything was really turning against them. They were in the desert. They'd only been there for 40 days. And they were sort of, alone. God was giving them bread from heaven and water from a rock. So they know that God did not leave them. So God was with them, but Moses was not with them. And because Moses wasn't with them, so everybody just went berserk. They went crazy. And that shows the importance of having a genuine Jewish leader. So let's go back to these first. Okay, so if you remember, we already discussed the first commandment over here, which is in this week's portion, which is the half of a shekel, which that it says is a forgiveness for the sin of the golden calf. And last week also, there were a few things that it said they were there to fix up the sin of the golden calf. There was a gold, which was the golden cover on the ark. So this gold will fix up the golden calf. So there's a big question: when exactly did the Jews get the commandment to make the tabernacle? When did it happen? Here in the Torah, it seems that they got the commandment first. They got the commandment, right? There was Parshas Truma that says bring all the things of the tabernacle, and it said that they did it, and they brought it. And then afterwards, it says in Tetzaveh, it says bring all the garments of the Kohen, and it says over there in the Parshas Vayas that they all did it. And then in the end, it says that they built it. And all of a sudden, that was first. So they built it. And then afterwards comes the sin of the golden calf. But in fact, it didn't happen that way. In fact, it did not happen that way. In fact, we'll see, let's have a look at Rashi, that really the Jewish people sinned first. And then God gave them the commandments about the temple. Then we go, okay, that also doesn't seem really too logical. We'll see why. Because when Moses was on Mount Sinai for 40 days, so God gave him the whole Torah. He gave him the whole thing. He didn't give him everything except for the tabernacle. The tabernacle wasn't built just God threw it in. There were 613 commandments, and a lot of those commandments are what took it to make the tabernacle. So obviously God gave the Torah before the sin of the golden calf, but we'll see there's a lot of reasons to say it's not. So let's look and see what Rashi says over here. Okay, God gave, when he finished speaking to him after 40 days on Mount Sinai, he gave him these two tablets that are written with the finger of God. Let's see Rashi. Rashi says, "Ein mukdam or mi'ucher b'Torah." There's no chronological order in the Torah. In other words, the things that appear in the Torah are not necessarily in chronological order, although that generally speaking, they are in chronological order. But if they appear not just because the order that they're written in the Torah is not necessarily indicate that that's the order that things happen. That's he says, Maaseh Egel, this whole story that we're going to learn here about the making of the golden calf really happened before the commandment of the building of the Mishkan, which was in the two previous weeks that we learned about in Truma and Tetzaveh. Yomim Rabbi, many, many days. Why? Because on the 17th day of Tammuz, the tablets were broken. 120 days later, on Yom Kippur, God agreed and he gave them the second tablets, right? On Yom Kippur. That's when the Jews got the second tablets. And the day after they received the second tablets, because Moses went up 3 times on Mount Sinai, right? One time he went up to receive the tablets. He came down after that, the end of the first 40 days and broke them. Then he went up another 40 days to get forgiveness. And then he went another 40 days and God gave him the second tablet. So each one of these 40 days, the first 40 days and the last 40 days, God was explaining to him all these laws. So the day after Moses came down from Mount Sinai the third time, which was on Yom Kippur, that's when they began gathering things from the temple to make the tabernacle. That's when the commandments were, and the tabernacle was actually built, right? It was actually built many months later, on the first day of Nisan. That's when it opened up. So he says, nah, maybe not. He says, we have to look at this. Maybe God commanded, maybe not. Maybe God commanded Moses on the first days that he was there. That's what he commanded him. And then before he came down, but when he came down from Mount Sinai, so Moses couldn't tell the Jewish people, he didn't tell them anything. So God commanded Moses in the first 40 days, and he commanded him to make this tabernacle in those days, the first 40 days. When Moses came down and he broke the tablets, so he didn't tell them anything. He didn't give them the commandment until 80 days later, right? He went up another 40 days to get forgiveness and another 40 days to get the tablets. Then the Jewish people were pleasing to God. And so it says clearly in the Zohar. In the Zohar, it says clearly that therefore, Kodesh Baruch Hu, it says, Me'et kol ish. In the beginning, when God spoke to Moses, he said that you should take these contributions to the tabernacle, he said, from everybody. Me'et kol ish. What does Mikal Ish means? From everybody, even the Erev Rav, even from the mixed multitude. Like the rabbis say, Ish, Ish. This is talking about when God says everybody, it means even the mixed multitude that went up with the Jews. But when Moses commanded it to the Jewish people, so he said, take from you these contributions. This was after, not from the Erev Rav, because this was after the golden calf, and the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, they were the ones who came up with this idea of making the golden calf. Okay, so in other words, what it comes down to, let's say in a simple way, then I saw another answer. There's a book called Shai Lamora, where he says that no, maybe it could be that God told Moses in a general way about the tabernacle when he was up on Mount Sinai the first 40 days, but then all the details he gave later. Okay, in any case, it seems that God did give the commandment to the Jewish people about making the tabernacle. He gave it, at least to Moses, before they worshiped the golden calf. And Moses did not give it over to the Jewish people because he broke the tablets and everything. Then when Moses went up God repeated everything over, then that's what God spoke to the Jewish people about. Okay, so it says, let's go back to nice things. Moses, when God finished speaking to him, he gave him 2 tablets, and they were written with the finger of God. Kachaloto, when he finished, so he said, Kachaloto, he said, Kachaloto, it is written. Here, Kachaloto, it is written missing. Shenimsro lo Torah b'matana, like a kala, like a bride, l'chatan. Shelo haya yochal lilmod Kula Bisman Muad, because Moses couldn't have learned the whole Torah at this time. So he gave him one big gift, like a kala, like a bride gives to her husband, a big gift before. From this, we have also a custom. Bride gives a gift like the shas or something like that, the whole Talmud. Another one, like a kala, she bride has 24 garments, and she puts on a lot of jewelry that is spoken about in the book of Isaiah. Also, a Talmud Chacham has to have all of the 24 books of the Torah, the written Torah. Okay, so God, it says luchot. There were luchot. It doesn't say luchot with a vav. It says luchat to show that both of them were equal. They both were equal size. Moses comes down. What's going to happen? We'll see. When the people saw that Moshe was delaying, so they all gathered to Moshe, to Aaron. They all gathered to Aaron. Let's look at Rashi again. Like it said before, Ichur ki boshesh. Boshesh means that he delayed. And also boshesh rachavo means it delayed coming. His chariot delayed. Yechilu ad bosh. Also, he's just talking about grammar, what this word bosh means. What happened? Because when Moshe went to up on Mount Sinai, he said he was going to come back after 40 days. The Sofar Baim Yom Ani Bo, within 6 hours of the 40th day. Now they thought that the day that Moshe went up on Mount Sinai was the beginning. That was day number 1. But Moses didn't mean that. He meant after 40 complete days, then I'm going to come down 6 days, 6 hours afterwards. 6 hours within when the 40 days finishes. The Yom Eliyaso, on the day that Moses went up, says the night was not with it. And Moses went up in the morning. It says B'Zayin Nisan, because he went up on the 7th day of Sivan. I'm sorry. The Jewish people heard the Torah being given on the 6th, and Moses went up on the 7th. In other words, in the morning. So it comes out that the 40th day should have come out on the 17th day of Tammuz. That's what they figured. On the 7th day of Tammuz, the Satan, on the 17th day of Tammuz came the Satan, and he mixed up the whole world, and he showed them some sort of darkness and etc. and confusion. And he said, Moses obviously died. Therefore, that's why the world is so confused. Everyone said, whoa, Moses died. And we see that already the 6th hour has already come. The 40 days is finished. And we're in six hours of the 41st day. And that Moses is not here. Moses isn't here. But the fact of the matter is the 40th day did not finish yet. The 40th day would have finished the day after that, after the 17th. Any case, that's what it says in the Masechah Shabbos. So we can't say that, no, maybe Moshe really came down in the right time, but they just made a mistake. He said he was going to come down in 6 hours, and they made a mistake. It was a cloudy day, so they thought that maybe it was after midday. So no, that's not so. Moshe came down afterwards, because it said, and the day afterward, because it says the people woke up in the morning, and they made all sorts of sacrifices. In any case, the point is that Moses was not supposed to have come back until a day later. And everyone thought it was a big mistake. And in fact, Moses came back early. He came back early. But they thought it was late. They thought that the 40 days already finished. So therefore said, let us make a lot of gods. Because this Moshe, this man Moshe, what do you mean the man? Which man? And why did they say this man Moshe? So it says that the devil showed them a image of Moses. It says in the Midrash like on a coffin. floating in the air, and in the air, the Rekiah Shemaim in the heavens. And everyone said, whoa, whoa, that's Moses. We recognize him. He's dead. He was the one who he took us out of Egypt. He was our leader. Now we have to have some sort of gods that they'll lead us. What's going to be? We have no one to lead us. Okay, there's a lot of different explanations also, but we don't have time to go into them. So let's go further. Aaron said, okay, listen, take off your nose rings, your golden nose rings that are in Nizme Zav, your nose rings, your earrings that are in your wife, in the ears, your earrings in your wife's ears, and of your daughters, and bring them to me. Why did he say your daughters? Aaron thought that the women and the children, they would say, hey, I don't want to give my rings away, my earrings, take them from somebody else. Maybe this would delay everybody, because Aaron saw that there was no way he was going to tell the people to stop this. There was just, everyone was going crazy. So therefore he thought, well, listen, maybe the women will delay a little bit. They'll say, hey, don't take my rings away from me, my gold. But the women did not delay, and they took the rings off. Nose. Let's see, it's a commandment. He told them to take off the rings and the earrings from there. So all the people took off their earrings and their nose rings or whatever that were in their ears, and they brought it to Aaron, to Aharon, Aaron's brother. Prika, also Majid Parku, means also to remove from yourself a burden. The Jewish people were removing themselves the burden of the Torah. It says, they took it from their children, their sons and their daughters, everyone. And they took it from their hands. And we'll see who took it from their hands. This is going to be the mixed multitude. And they formed it with some sort of instrument, and they made a big, a calf, masecha, that was like molded, formed. And everybody said, they said, this is your gods that took you out of Egypt. Now it says, according to one explanation, that when the Jews went out of Egypt, so it says that all of the heavens all parted, and they saw all of the angels and forms in heaven. So they saw forms, the heavenly forms. So they saw the heavenly chariot that Isaiah also saw. And one of the faces, the dominant face on the chariot, it says there's the face of an eagle, a face of a man, a face of an ox, and a face of an eagle. And the ox, for some reason, is the dominant one. So they said, oh, here's the ox that took us out of Egypt, right? And that's when they made a calf. They say, oh, this is exactly like the ox that took us out of Egypt. This is great. These are the ones that took us. There it says, since they threw it into the fire, in this kur, in this, melting pot, so came all of the magicians from the mixed multitude that came with them from Egypt, and they made this golden calf with their sorcery. Some people say that Micha was there. Now, who was Micha? Micha was a Jew that was, they say that he was put into the brick by one of the babies that was put into the bricks of Paro, of the pyramids, and that he was taken out miraculously. In any case, he came out of Egypt with a little idol around his neck or his pocket, whatever it was. And that Micha, he had the pesel Micha. He had this little idol that people worshipped. Sheyetze mitoch demuse binyan. Micha was taken out from the bricks of the building of the pyramid of the Sphinx, who knows what, that the Jews were forced to build, as he was put in there, Shenit Ma'echbo b'Mitzrayim, and he was used as, as part of the bricks. V'hoya biyado shame, and this Micha, you figured he would be grateful, and he definitely was a big idolater, making a lot of trouble, and he had some sort of a magical name. And he also had a plate, and it was written. Moshe wrote on this plate. How he got a hold of it, I don't know. And it said, Aleshur, Aleshur. It said, raise up ox, raise up ox. Who is this ox? What do you mean, go come up ox? This Moses used in order to bring up the coffin of Yosef from the Nile River. You remember, Yosef died, 100 years, 200 years before Moses came into Egypt. And so Moses was, he was buried in the Nile River, and he made everybody promise that you would take his bones out. Hashbia, Hashbia. Yosef made them promise they would take his bones out with them when they left Egypt. Yosef knew that they were going to leave Egypt. So how are you going to get it out of the river? So there was this plate that Moses wrote, raise up ox, that was on there. And that he used this in order to raise, or he threw it on the river, whatever it was. And that's how the coffin raised up, and they took it out. Well, somehow or other, this fell into the hands of this Micha. Well, Micha had been, like we say, a baby that had been plastered into the walls of this, into the bricks, whatever. And he came out with a little idol, and also with this plate. And the plate said raised. Now, it's called, Yosef is called Oleshur. He's called an ox. If you look at the blessings that Yaakov gave him. So he threw this plate into the melting pot of gold, and there came out this idol. Okay. Pretty bizarre. Aaron saw. So he said, well, what am I going to do to delay the Jewish people? So he built a big altar, and he yelled out, Aaron yelled out, and he said, tomorrow we're going to make a big holiday for God. What did Aaron saw? Aaron saw that this golden calf that they made was alive. It was moving. Like it says, Tavni Shur Ochel Esav, like it says in Psalms, that it was the form of a calf, of an ox that ate grass. In other words, it was alive. And he saw that what the devil wanted to do was working out, and he knew he had to be clever because he wasn't going to stop. He didn't know how to. He couldn't tell the Jewish people, stop it. This is ridiculous. Stop doing it. He knew that nobody was going to listen to him. So he built an altar in order to push the Jews, to delay them. And he said, tomorrow will be a holiday, not today. Thought maybe Moshe will come down so it said, it's not so simple. He said, there's a midrash that says a little bit more. It says, Aaron saw a lot of weird things happening. He saw, first of all, that Hur, who was the son of Miriam, his sister, says she was the son of Miriam and Kalev ben Yefuneh. In any case, he saw that Hur, which was his nephew, the son of his sister, that Hur tried to get up and stand and tell everybody, hey, don't do it, and they killed him. That's what it means. He built an altar in front of him. And mizbachot lefanav. Don't say mizbeach, that he built an altar, but mizbachot, that they did murder in front of him. Zevach means to murder. Also, he saw va'odra. He saw more things, and he said it's better that that God should blame me and not in the Jewish people. I'll like it. I'll go along with them. The God will say, hey, Aaron, you should have stood against them. He saw that it wasn't going to work. So he said, you know what, I'll sort of encourage them. And then I'll say, come on, God, what do you want from the Jewish people? No, I encourage them, so God will blame me. Also, he says, if they built an altar, then this person's going to bring a brick, this person's going to bring a rock, and it'll take out that it'll be done in a while. While I'm building it, So I'll take a little bit of time in building it. Meanwhile, maybe Moshe's going to come. So it said, let's make a holiday to God. He was really certain that it would become, this would go to God and everything would be okay. Moses would come back and he would say to the Jewish people, I'm sorry I took a long time. It seems that Aaron was also a bit confused about what time Moshe was going to come back. He really thought that Moshe was really late. In any case, they woke up early in the morning. They made altars. They made offerings. They made peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink. And they woke up. They stood up to letzachek. What does it mean, letzachek? It says they woke up early in the morning. It says the devil woke them up in the morning. And what says that tzachek means like to have a good time. But the word tzachek is used differently in the Torah. Sometimes it's used for decadence, licentiousness, arayos, like it says that tzachek bi. That's what the Potiphar's wife said, that Yosef is trying to tzachek bi, is trying to rape me. So also shvichas damim, another place. In other words, they were standing up for, what do you mean, for murder. That's what it means, that they killed Hur. Hur tried to stop them and he killed him. God said to Moshe, here the Baal Haturim says, Vayalu Olot, who are the ones that made these offerings? This is the gematria, Vayalu Olot, this is the gematria Bechorot. Olot is the same gematria as Bechor, the firstborn. Now, if you remember, the firstborn, they were supposed to be the priests. They were supposed to be the ones that were the priests, not the Kohanim. Supposed to be the priests. After the sin of the golden calf, so God took away this rulership from the Kohanim, from the firstborn, and he gave it to the Kohanim. So it says that the firstborn, they were the ones that were making all these sacrifices in front of God. God said to Moshe, you'll never know, you'll never guess what's going on down there. Lech red, go down. Because your people that you took out of Egypt, they have, how do you say, diverted, destroyed themselves. Shechet amcha, that the Jewish people that you took out of Egypt, they have really, how do you call it, the diverted from the normal way. They have decided to destroy themselves. Let's see, Rashi says, Vayadaber, God spoke, this is a hard language, like it says, Vayadaber itam kashod. Lech reid says, go down, not just go down from Mount Sinai, go down from your greatness. Lo natati lecha, the only reason I made you great, Moses, is for them. So here's poor Moshe. He took the Jews out of Egypt, all this tremendous effort and self-sacrifice and danger that he put himself into, going into Paro and dealing with the Jewish people, taking them through the desert, and they're always complaining. And finally coming to Mount Sinai, going up on Mount Sinai when no one else could go up, staying up there for 40 days, 40 nights without eating. And now God said, that's it, you're finished, Moses. You know, you really, the Jewish people let me down, and because they let me down, so I'm letting you down. The Otosha at that time, Nidnada Moshe mipnei Beit Din Shamayla. At that time, Moses was put into, what do we call it, excommunication by the heavenly court. This is the people that you're representing. We don't want to have anything to do with you. It doesn't say that the people, the Jewish people, have transgressed, but it says Amcha. What's your people? The Erev Rav, the mixed multitude. You were the one that brought them up to Egypt from Egypt. You didn't take my advice, but you didn't consult me. And you thought it was a good thing that converts would come and be a Shekhinah, that the converts would come and they would become religious. Well, they're the ones that messed everything up. They're the ones that did it all. We're going to talk about this more, God willing, tomorrow, the sin of the golden calf. God says to them, look at them, this is a hard, stiff-necked people. Later on, God's just going to do the same language. He's going to use the same language. A stiff-necked people, like this is a stiff-necked people. The reason to punish them, God's going to use the same language. Stiff-necked people is going to be a reason to forgive them. That's what God says. Now says God, leave me alone. And we're going to go back to this tomorrow. Leave me alone. Let my anger burn, and I'll destroy all of them. I'll destroy all the Jews, right? Because, like I said, there were some Jews that actively sinned and some Jews that stood by, and they said, "We're not going to stop it." And I'll make you into a great nation, Moshe. You're going to be the great nation. So now Moshe all of a sudden realized that this was a chance. Says, Adayan lo shamanu shipala. We didn't see that Moses even prayed and said, "Come on, God, leave the people go." Now, when God said, "Leave me alone," henicholi, God said, "Let me do it. Leave me alone, and I'll destroy them." Moses said, "Now, God petach li petach." He opened up an opportunity, a way out, a loophole. And he let me know that the whole thing depends on me. If I pray for the Jewish people, God will not destroy them. As we're going to learn more, God willing, tomorrow, the happy ending of the story. Well, sort of happy. I mean, we'll see there were a lot of Jews were punished, but in the end, here we are. God did not wipe out the Jews and make a new nation from Moses, as we'll talk about more, God willing, and also about the second tablets. Have a good day, everyone. God bless you all with Mashiach now.